going to get stuck multiple times in life. And one of the reasons you're going to stay stuck, if you are, is because you're not holding yourself accountable. You're not finding a way to commit yourself to actually changing. And what do I mean by that? So when you commit to change, a lot of times people feel it out, and this is what I do. I feel it out for a while. I start exploring, whether it's like a book or a podcast, or just kind of like, okay, maybe I talk with certain people. But for most people, one of the things that they're limited by is what they know. So you go to what you know and the circles that you're in. A lot of times that could be families, friends, coworkers. But those people, if you're having your awakening, those people, if they haven't gone through that awakening, they might not be the best guide. So you drive into a neighborhood. Okay, let me show you what this looks like. You drive into a neighborhood. A stranger's walking through the neighborhood. They don't live there. You stop. You roll down your window. You're trying to figure out how to get to your friend's house. You say, hey, do you live here? And they say, no, I'm just walking through. And you ask them for directions. Now, is that the best person to talk to? No. You got to talk with people who have lived there. You got to talk with people who have been there. When you're walking through the wilderness, you got to talk with people who've been a jungle guide. You got to talk with people who've lost their way and found themselves in the process. You got to talk with people who understand how to navigate change and who are ready to commit to the different things that are required of you to do that. A lot of times people get into the idea of accountability, because that's what this is really about, right? It's like you get into the idea of accountability, and accountability doesn't have to be what you've known it to mean. Accountability doesn't have to be somebody checking in on you. Accountability doesn't have to be somebody just like that you report to. Accountability can be, this is the person that I am meeting with, and I've given them specific permission to speak into my life in this way. And when we talk, these are the kind of the challenges that I am facing, and we're going to work through them. And I trust their approach, and I trust their leadership. And they're not there to press me into being somebody I'm not. They're actually calling me higher into being somebody that I'm made to be. And so for accountability purposes, like when you're navigating change, especially change that other people around you have not gone through, you need to be accountable to, in my perspective, accountable to people who are strong in that area. People, especially when it comes to rebuilding identity, people who are going to remind you of who you're made to be. And they have to have, I believe, some level of discernment and gifting and being able to specifically see in you maybe who you don't see in yourself. A lot of times the people that you're surrounded by, like in your friend groups or co-working circles or whatever, like the church groups even, like the people that you're surrounded by, it's very easy to be identified as who you've been. But look, the Lord doesn't even identify us as who we've been. He gives us new names. Like even biblically, like he gives people new names to give them their true God-given identity. And honestly, as a signal of a sign of shifting happening. And that shifting happening for you might not look like a new name, even though people I've worked with have actually assumed new names. Even though it might not be that drastic for you right now, it may be that kind of identity formation time, rebuilding time, where you're having to really get to the real foundational root level understanding of like what God intended for you. And that might be, there's a whole lot of rewiring happening in your thinking and how you're approaching your relationships. Like the same life that you're living, this paradigm shift that's happening is going to change that exact same life that you're living without changing anything. In other words, you're going to have this inside out process happen. I'm explaining what's going on. For those of you who understand, you're going to be like, how does he know this? Because I've been through it and I've walked with other people through it. You're going to be paying attention to your speech. You're going to be paying attention to your thoughts. You're going to be having a heightened awareness to things that are just really not aligned with what God has for you and what you know God's will for your life is. You might be questioning a lot of decisions you've made in the past. You might be really stuck and in that analysis paralysis of decisions you're going to make for the future because you care so deeply about making sure that it's aligned with God's design for your life. And so you have to be able to navigate that with some grounding. And one of the ways you can have grounding is having somebody help you understand what's reality and how to separate facts from feelings and how to get out of the spiritual swirl that can be happening because you're starting to have a heightened awareness of all of the spirituality involved in all of these things in your day-to-day life. Just quickly on that, like people, when they're having that awakening and they're realizing the gravity of like, wow, God is with me. It's not just like, oh, I grew up in the church, I read the Bible. It's like God's with me and he's like active and I see all the ways he's moving. They start becoming aware of the Lord in a new way, but then you also start becoming aware of the demonic realm as well. And the way that I kind of bring like a parallel is it's like when you have a health awakening, you go to the grocery store and the same grocery aisles can start to trigger you because you go, oh my gosh, they're trying to kill me. Like, how do I even know what to eat? Because you're early in your health awakening and you don't understand principles of protein, fats, carbs, macronutrients, God's design for how we're meant to sustain our bodies. Minerals, super important. Having the right minerals, right, for all to get some of the imbalances that are going on in your body. Hydration, what that looks like, thinking about the water that you're drinking, like some really basic things. When do you drink your water? Knowing that not drinking your water can have symptoms of depression. So dehydration and depression can have overlapping symptoms, things like this. You start to learn basic principles. Oh, if I wake up and I don't eat because I'm fasting, but I wait too long and my body thinks I'm starving, I might actually start to crave simple sugar or carbs in a way that's not healthy, but it's really just my body's response because it thinks that it's starving. And so I might crave like a donut, but I need to know I need to eat protein. Just simple things about your body, your soul, your spirit that you start to develop understanding in. I talk about a lot of this stuff in boot camp because it's so important to get that foundation of health, to get your mind right so that you can actually think clearly about bigger life decisions. And when you have that health awakening, just the life that you look at every single day starts to change. You go to the grocery store, you look at those groceries, they start to change. Like stuff starts to stick out to you because you go, wait, I have a different view. I've got a new set of glasses as I'm looking at all of this stuff. And that's the same is true for the spiritual realm. So when it comes to making change and trying to navigate a lot of these things that can be overwhelming, whether it's spiritually, whether it's in your health, whether it's in your career and vocation and calling, I mean, these are a lot of things that all kind of pile into identity. Your relationship with money involved in all of that, relationships in general, your personal integrity, following through on commitments, your inability to follow through on commitments, this guilt that you have that keeps you debilitated from making further decisions because you just can't follow through on your commitments and you overcommit yourself to everything and you need to have better boundaries. I can just go on and down the list of all the things that people experience. But what I can get to as like the real message for you is if you're feeling stuck, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling like all of these things are kind of piling on at once and you're just like, where do I even begin? You have to actually commit to changing. You have to commit to changing, and you have to commit in a way where you are not going to allow other people in your life to allow you to continue your BS, which might mean you have to have some separation from certain relationships in your life so that you can get right, so that you can have a time where you almost like incubate in this new identity that God's giving you so that you can get strong and grow and then kind of reintegrate into different things that you might have had to separate from in the past. So the key to getting unstuck, and I've digressed a little bit, but it's so important. It's all a part of the process. The key to getting unstuck is really making that committed choice to change. And it is not feeling it out, reading the books, the podcasts, the whatever, signing up for the course and pushing the responsibility on the other person, the course itself, whatever it may be. You have to take that personal ownership of the process. And you have to find a way to get somebody who has navigated it and been on that journey of whatever you're going through. Even if you think, oh, nobody's been through this. Yes, they have. Other people have been through the journey you're on. Find them Find them, especially if they've been through the mud and they've come out on the other side, and find ways to be around them and to learn from them. And find ways even better if you can have them be the people that you can commit to for change. Okay, because that's going to be really important, is you're going to actually have to start making change. And that may be uncomfortable. So those people that you commit to, they're going to be the ones who are like, hey, I know that this was going on. How did that go? Hey, I know that you were telling me you wanted to do this. Why haven't you done that? What was the obstacle? And one of the things in coaching for me, one of the things that I find to be incredibly helpful versus other forms of having help and accountability is that you get people that are walking with you live through a process, helping you make adjustments along the way, because you need to learn how to be flexible and make adjustments. So many people think, oh, I've got the plan, I need a plan, and then once I get the plan, I'm good to go. That's not true. You're going to face 1,000,001 obstacles if you got $1 million plan. So it's like, you really got to know how to prepare for those obstacles, and one of the ways you can do that is somebody that's going to be able to help you navigate. That's my personal take on what works for me, especially when I really get to the point where I'm going, hold on a second, like, I need to find somebody that is strong in this area, that has walked through this thing, whether it's a business thing for me, whether it's a health thing for me, whether it's a relational, career, whatever it is for me. I need to find somebody who's walked through this thing, and I need to get some wisdom from them. And then I need to commit to change. So I would encourage you, if you're listening to this still and you're going, dang, that's real, and I'm resonating with a lot of what you're saying, I would encourage you, if you're on that journey, especially of what I'm talking about, message me. If you're like, I need to change like yesterday and I'm ready to commit to change, message me. Just message me the word ready, and we can talk about it. I run an 8-week program where you get private coaching with me. And we go through the basics. You're going to know how to navigate a lot of things in your rebuilding season, in that wilderness season, in the identity changing and formation season. It's not random. There's a lot of things that might be happening, but it's not random. And you can regain that confidence and clarity and momentum, but you do have to commit to change. So I hope that helps you. Don't stay stuck. You will have many more times in life being stuck, but you can get through it, and just make sure that you don't do it alone.